Hello and welcome to Inside Edition, where we discuss national, regional and international issues in depth. Bahrain Customs Affairs presents a pioneering role model on regional and international levels as it greatly contributes to the constant progress witnessed by the kingdom in the field of security, economy, sustainable development, as well as competitiveness in international trade. Despite all changes and challenges, the customs work in Bahrain continues to proceed firmly in the path of local achievements and global accomplishments. To talk more about Bahrain Customs Affairs' role and services, we are pleased to be joined here in the studio by the President of the Customs, His Excellency Shaikh Ahmed bin Hamad الخليفة.
أرقام التاريخ لم تعبر عبر بوابة البحرين إلا وقد ختمت بإنجازات رائدة تبنيها رؤية ملك حكيم وولي عهد ورئيس وزراء ملهم. تاريخ عريق وأمانة تعاهدها المخلصون لتفتتح بوابة المستقبل المرتكزة على خطط استراتيجية متناغمة مع رؤية البحرين الاقتصادية 2030. موائمة، تعزيز، بناء. أهداف استراتيجية ترسم المستقبل. الهدف الاستراتيجي الأول هو موائمة الخطط مع برنامج عمل الحكومة والرؤية الاقتصادية وسياسات منظمة الجمارك العالمية من خلال المبادرات الآتية: لتكون مخرجات الهدف الاستراتيجي الأول إصدار دليل الحوكمة الخاص بشؤون الجمارك وتوثيق الإجراءات، تطوير مفاهيم إدارة التعليم والتدريب الإلكتروني في بناء وتأهيل الموظفين، تبني منهجية اتصال متطورة للوصول إلى جميع العملاء، رفع كفاءة مركز خدمة العملاء، واستكمال ربط الخدمات المقدمة مع الحكومة الإلكترونية، تحسين جودة برامج وأدوات منظمة الجمارك المطبقة ونظام النافذة الواحدة. أما الهدف الاستراتيجي الثاني فهو تعزيز العمل الجمركي وتنمية المكتسبات التي تحققت في الاستراتيجية الماضية عن طريق المبادرات التالية: ليأتي الهدف الاستراتيجي الثاني بمخرجات أولها تطوير برنامج النافذة الواحدة للوصول لنظام تخليص إلكتروني يشمل أفضل التقنيات الحديثة مثل البلوك تشين والذكاء الاصطناعي بعيداً عن البيئة الورقية، تطوير برامج المخاطر الجمركية وبرامج استهداف المسافرين، وتطوير عمليات الأمن الجمركية، إصدار أدلة التيسير والالتزام والتوسع في تقديم التسهيلات للملتزمين وتعزيز التعاون الدولي من خلال اتفاقيات الاعتراف المتبادل. والهدف الاستراتيجي الثالث هو بناء قدرات وإمكانيات شؤون الجمارك لمواجهة التحديات وتحويلها لفرص في مبادرات هي: مخرجات الهدف الاستراتيجي الثالث: أولاً، إجراء البحوث ومعالجة الظواهر والمخاطر بكفاءة عالية، تحسين سمعة ومكانة مملكة البحرين في مؤشر الأداء اللوجستي، رؤية نحو المستقبل تعبر بوابة التحديات والتاريخ، مختومة بالإنجازات والعمل واستخدام المعرفة، متناغمة مع العمل الجماعي لبقية القطاعات بقيادة الحكومة ورؤيتها المستقبلية.
Welcome back, dear viewers. Joining me here in the studio is the President of the Customs, His Excellency Shaikh Ahmed bin Hamad Al Khalifa. Thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Your Excellency, the customs, since its establishment in 1917, actually, witnessed so many stages of achievements and progression and constant progress throughout its history. What can you tell us about this history, and what were the most important stages during this?
Well, if we're going to talk about the history of customs, we have to go back all the way to the late 1700s when al-Khalifas took power in Bahrain. At that time, there was a wise decision made by them to not impose any taxes or custom duties at the time, similar to many parts of this region. That step was to encourage commercial activities, trade, and that helped a lot in making Bahrain a commercial hub at the time.
Right.
Now, fast forward to the year 1860, when the ruler was the late Sheikh Isa bin Ali al-Khalifa. He decided that it was about time to impose custom duties. At the time, they had an Indian ex-merchant that they formed a company with.
Okay.
The ruler had a representative in that company. And this is when custom duty was imposed in Bahrain. That lasted for 35 years. And when 1917 came, there was the first building dedicated for customs, and that is in the Manama port, opposite Bab al-Bahrain.
Right.
Later on, that building became the post office.
Right.
In that year, or a few years later, during the rule of Sheikh Hamad bin Isa al-Khalifa, he decided to stop the company and establish the first customs directorate. An ex-British officer was appointed at the time to establish that directorate, and he continued working until he retired in the early 40s. He introduced concepts such as the Bill of Lading, the Manifest, and the Customs Declaration. Since that time, worldwide, nothing has changed so much except tariffs. And tariffs was usually changed because of economic reasons. So in the beginning, Bahrain had 5% custom duty on all commodities. Later, it went up for some of the commodities to 10 or even 15%.
Okay.
That kept changing, and nothing much else has changed worldwide. The focus for these years were mainly revenue. However, the turning point for customs worldwide was in 2001, when September the 11th incident took place. This is where many countries realized the importance of security at the borders. And customs in some countries started being moved from the supervision of the Ministry of Finance to the Homeland Security or the Ministry of Interior in some places. We in Bahrain took that step in 2008, and I believe that it was a major step in transforming customs that created a balance between security and revenue in Bahrain. Following that transition, this is when IT started being introduced.
Right.
Many of our systems that we work with today was installed at that time. So these are the major changes that happened throughout history in customs, specifically in Bahrain.
Right. I mean, talking about these changes, we're going to get into this a little bit later on, but even this year with the head of the pandemic, there were a lot of changes as well that have happened. How do you envelope these changes into that history?
Well, the pandemic has brought many challenges to countries worldwide. We at Customs work closely together as small teams. So when the pandemic and the guidelines came out, we had to create small bubbles. And that is to protect our employees, but to maintain expediting and facilitating the trade and travel. Right. We have exchanged information with all countries when it comes to steps that we have took on a platform that the WCO created in exchanging knowledge. And believe it or not, when we look at the pandemic, when it started in China and moved to Europe, then it came to Bahrain. By that time, Bahrain's document was ready and up on the system. So when the pandemic reached South America and Africa, they have used some of the points that we have mentioned on how to control staff, how to expedite goods. How do you deal with goods when there was a rumor that touching some of the commodities or goods might transmit the virus. So these were the challenges. However, as we were going on through the pandemic, I believe that we have learned a lot, adapted a lot, and some of the things that we have been doing for the past year are things that I wish that they could continue as the new norm in how we do business. Right. We're more efficient, and I think productivity, even from people that work at home, has risen.
Right, absolutely. The WCO was actually our keyword for the next question. We would really like to congratulate you on being elected as chairperson of the World Customs Organization, the WCO, and becoming the third Arab official to hold this role. What can you tell us about the significance of the Bahraini achievements, and how would it lead to enhance the customs international work on various levels?
Of course, I'm privileged and honored to be elected as the chairperson of the World Customs Organization. It is gaining the trust of all countries because I was elected unanimously.
Yes.
And that's something that I take pride to myself. However, I believe that what helped in that is the status of Bahrain on the international arena. Bahrain is well recognized on the international arena in many organizations. We play an effective role when we're abroad. We're always participating, suggesting, and we're always effective when it comes to dialogue with other nations and countries. So that played a major role. Now, when it comes to the potential of this achievement, I think it only comes as an addition to other achievements that other Bahrainis have achieved. And this just reinforces the idea of how Bahrainis are able to present themselves abroad and get this recognition. My plans for the organization is, first of all, it comes during this pandemic. And the important bit now is how can we continue work during these challenging times.
Right.
The headquarters is in Brussels. Brussels was under lockdown for many months.
Yes.
However, the team, we call them the secretariat of the organization, have been working from home all these months, and we did not feel as members of the organization that there was a drop in the work. Meetings have been conducted well, and we have been exchanging information regarding the pandemic. And there are plans this summer to come up with new sources of revenue and income for the organization that will create stability for it for many years ahead.
Right.
So alhamdulillah, we say the organization is doing well, and we're privileged to chair that organization post.
Alhamdulillah, as you said, the customs has always had its history in Bahrain itself. So this also is a part of the accomplishments of the Bahraini customs to be on such a world or a global organization. The customs affairs performs its role on the basis of ambitious visions accompanied with important missions and values. Can you tell us about these?
Well, a few years back we did an exercise at Customs Affairs that was in 2016.
Okay.
We believed at the time that we had to change direction and reorganize the organization itself. So we launched a strategy back then, which was the 2017 to 2020 strategy. With that strategy, we decided to rewrite the vision, mission, and values. Which came to the new vision is customs enhancing prosperity, security, and economic growth. Right. When it comes to the mission, and back to the example I gave post-2001, right, we're in a position of balancing between facilitation and security. Okay. So our mission statement is providing excellent customs services at the regional level through facilitating legitimate trade and travel, whilst strengthening the security of the kingdom and protection of society. So it is a balance act.
It is.
When it comes to the values, values are not values that are hung on the wall just for people to look at. Values are something that we truly believe in at Customs. So we do believe in the following values. We do believe in integrity and honesty of our officers.
Yes.
We do believe on their professionalism when it comes to 24/7 at the borders. But we also believe in transparency with all stakeholders and accountability. So this is in general what we came up with and we truly believe.
Yes, yes, totally. The latest World Customs Day, the Customs Affairs launched a strategic plan for 2021 till 2024, which came also in line with the government action plan, the Bahrain Economic Vision 23, and the policies of the World Customs Organization. How do all of these fit in? Can you tell us more about that?
That is a great question. The new strategy comes on the backfall of the previous strategy. So the previous strategy was a change course. Now the new strategy is a build on that strategy. So we came up with 3 pillars or 3 themes, and we call them align, reinforce, build. And in simple explanation, align is where we're trying to align our initiatives with the government action plan, the Economic Vision 2030, and the WCO's new policies. That is where we need to be aligned. When it comes to reinforce, the focus here is any success that we have achieved in the previous strategy, we're building on that. So we're reinforcing success. The third element, build, is venturing into new territory. So this is where we look at new technologies that are evolving. That is, in short, the new strategy. I'll talk about them shortly in more detail.
All right. When it comes to the accomplishments of the customs affairs, Bahrain has always had a forefront position. With the pandemic, in the beginning of the pandemic, where the whole world was at some kind of a shutdown and standstill, the customs affairs was able to still find ways in order to move on with the economic needs of the country, and how, whether it's over the King Fahd causeway, whether it's through the different ports of the customs. What can you tell us about the international recognition of Bahrain's achievements in the customs affairs?
If we're going to talk specifically about the pandemic, we have to go back to who's behind the team. We are working as a team Bahrain in all fronts. But when you have the leadership and the clear vision of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, the Prime Minister, who I personally know that the preparation for the pandemic in Bahrain began way before the first case was reported. Being in customs, I was witnessing orders of the PCR tests arriving, and many of the masks and the rest of the equipment being imported by the end of January. So literally a month before the first case was reported. And I won't hide it from the viewers that I was asking myself many questions at the time, looking at the numbers arriving. So we have prepared very well due to the guidance of His Royal Highness. Now, when it comes to achievements, customs affairs, again, it depends on the situation. Customs is about being dynamic. Customs is about being flexible, but being vigilant. So we have been in talks with many of our friends and other colleagues in other countries on how do you deal with challenges throughout different times. And what I fully respect is we have this special relationship of mutual respect all over. And they wait for the answer of Bahrain. They wait, what will Bahrain say on this matter? So we have achieved a lot. People do notice changes. People do their homework by going online and reading about progress in other places. And they ask the right questions. So we're lucky to be in such an environment that we could showcase our achievements.
Totally. International recognition also comes from the contributions that the Customs Affairs has or is doing. How does the Customs Affairs contribute to achieving the National 2030 Sustainable Development Goal, the SDGs?
When we talk about SDGs, this is an important matter, because when you come up with a new idea, as long as it's sustainable, it will continue.
Yes.
If it's a one time, then after a few years it will disappear. So we pay an important time and we focus on the SDGs. Let's talk about what is SDGs. When we talk about our employees, we're entering in the new strategy the second phase of the Sustainable Development Training Program.
Right.
So we've already started in the previous strategy with the phase 1. We're now moving into phase 2.
Yeah.
We also pay attention to the governance. So when you have an organization and let's say it's reliant on one person, then there is no sustainability on that type of management.
Okay.
So governance is an important topic that we focus on, and we have guidelines on what to do if this happens or that happens, and that ensures continuity. We work with many stakeholders in Bahrain. We call them the other government agencies at the border. So, for example, we have NHRA regulating medicine, we have the Ministry of Health regulating food, and many others. And with this partnership, the focus here is on sustainable economic development.
Yes.
And that's another SDG.
Yes.
We intensify our cooperation on the international arena by signing mutual recognition agreements with many countries that we have import and export with.
Right.
And that is also part of ensuring sustainable economic growth. Finally, one of the initiatives we have is to focus on improving our ranking in the International Logistics Performance Indicator at the World Bank.
Yeah.
So we have been climbing, and we are continuing development to reach to the top positions in that index. And this is the SDG plans that we have hand in hand with the Government Action Plan and the Economic Vision 2030.
Right. These plans are still going ahead, and there are further ones to come. But as you have mentioned, in performing its duty, the Customs Affairs works relies on cooperation with various regional and some national organizations or institutions to exchange information, for training, for exercises and expertise. What can you tell us about these collaborations, and how important are they to progress in the work of customs?
Information in customs is key. We always exchange information via what's called the Regional Intelligence Liaison Office, so we call it the RILO. What is the RILO? When there's any seizure or any new way of smuggling or any network that is performing in anywhere, the information is passed through the RILO offices.
Okay.
And we have so many incidents where we received information or sent information that was useful to the others. Sometimes smuggling comes up with a new concept by covering the contraband with, let's say, silver paper, because X-ray might not see that, thinking that it might not see that. And we find new ways of the attempts to smuggle. So through that office we exchange a lot of information that helps others. When it comes to training, we're lucky that the World Customs Organization plays a major role globally in training. At the organization we have many experts in many fields of customs, whether it's customs science or security or other subjects. Bahrain used to host many courses nationally and regionally prior to the pandemic. Now we have programs online during the pandemic, and we hope that once we're over the pandemic, we're back to hosting many of these courses for the region.
Definitely. For people to understand more, the customs affairs does not have a silent existence in Bahrain. We see them in their awareness campaigns when we have the Bahrain Air Show, which is a biannual, every 2-year show that happens. And recently, with the opening of the new airport, there has been a highlight on, as you said, the new technologies that are being introduced, the things that have not been seen around the world, but Bahrain is really pioneering in that. What can you tell us about that, the new technologies introduced into Bahrain Customs?
Well, if I'm going to talk about the new airport, in simple words, state-of-the-art.
Yeah.
Basically, it is state-of-the-art, the latest equipment out there when it comes to X-ray machines, 3D. When it comes to the concept of operation, we have changed the concept at Customs. We now rely heavily on a network of cameras and X-rays behind the scene rather than being up front and present.
Right.
Everything is monitored, and we believe that the new technology has helped us in being more efficient with staff, and we have more control now.
Yes.
When it comes to other technologies that we have introduced, we have recently completed upgrading all scanners at the seaport and the King Fahd Causeway. Currently, these scanners that we have are the latest in the region. They are also very clear in comparison to what's available around us. But the beauty of them is that they have a built-in artificial intelligence.
Yes.
So any truck that passes by frequently, we have a record of that truck. And if there is any modification that happened on that truck to conceal anything on the body or the chassis of the truck, we will know about that.
Yes.
And that is also the beauty of technology when it comes to scanners. We have introduced other technologies in other departments, and we hope this new wave of technology will keep us with pace with changes in the smuggling and the contraband.
Yeah. Well, staying on the factor of technology and AI, which is the directions which all the Bahrain institutions and government institutions are going towards, can you give us a brief idea about the e-services that are provided by the Customs Affairs, and what is the importance of providing them, especially during the COVID-19 health circumstances?
As we all noticed during the pandemic, everybody shifted to e-services. Luckily, we at Customs had the e-services prior to the pandemic. We have increased a few during. So far, we have 13 services that we offer through the electronic platform. These are services that are divided between clearing agents, and if we're going to explain some of these services, prior to the pandemic, or a few years back, a clearing agent had to be present at the border to present his documents. Now you can prepare all the documents and submit them online.
Right.
The e-payment channels have increased, and now payments can be done online rather than being present at the border. If we look at other services for the clearing agents, they used to register by being present in our main building. Now it is online for registration, licensing, even participating on their courses is done electronically. So the services keep increasing day by day. I believe that with 13 we have covered more than 2/3 of the services we need, and the remaining are going to happen soon.
You talked a couple of times about efficiency before when we were answering the other questions. Part of the efficiency that the Customs Affairs has reached a long time ago, but now is even improving better on, is the fact that the services are not only more precise, but they're also faster. Did that make the flow better, more economic push from that side?
When we talk about time, we talk about logistics. What is logistics? Logistics is about movement of goods in a very efficient manner, whether it's the cost or the time taken for it to be cleared.
Right.
And this is judged worldwide, and this is how the logistics performance indicator works. So it's based on time and cost.
Okay.
Let me give you an example. On the inbound to Bahrain via King Fahd Causeway, a few years back, it took, in some cases, 3 days to get into Bahrain.
Yes.
When I joined in 2014, we started an exercise on measuring bottlenecks. Okay. Where is the bottleneck? And we started doing the improvement as a team at the King Fahd Causeway border. And that reduced the time back then to same-day crossing. Okay. We said that's not enough. We found that the most time was wasted, was waiting for the clearing agent to present the document. Right. So then we decided, let's do pre-clearance. Okay. So any truck arriving at the border, the paperwork should have been presented way before. Yeah. And that was compulsory. With that, we have dropped the time from, when I said days into same day, to 90 minutes as a worst case. Amazing. 90 minutes is when a truck needs to be inspected. But under 60 minutes if it's just a scan and then release. Right. In some cases, if the truck is coming back empty into Bahrain, we have to finish it within 10 to 15 minutes and they're out. Amazing. So with these KPIs, we have improved a lot. On the outbound, we have worked closely with our colleagues in the Saudi Customs. And we also have managed to maintain same-day crossing. In fact, within 12 hours for many of the trucks for a long time now. We have established concepts that are pioneering in the Gulf, such as the fast track. Right. And we did the fast track with the Saudi Customs. Fast track was focused on the top 10 exporters of Bahrain. Yeah. But believe it or not, those top 10 represented 60% of the volume. Yeah. So when we moved 10 companies out of the regular line into a dedicated fast track, that went faster. According to one of the companies, they said that the drop came down from 12 hours to a maximum of 2 hours on the fast track. And the other 40%, because 60 moved out, also became faster. Okay. So we're lucky with how we sometimes discuss it with our colleagues and friends and say, let's try this. Right. And we do. In all ports, we do try new concepts. That is why we think that we're in a good shape now when it comes to the logistics sector.
Definitely. Revisiting a certain problem or revisiting the procedure always comes up with new ideas for it. Well, what are the procedures taken by the customs to spread awareness? We talked a little bit about the Bahrain Air Show, which is a big deal for us in the media because we see all of these entities, whether it's the Bahrain Airport, whether it's Gulf Air, whether it's the Customs Authority, the Ministry of Interior, all at the same time with their awareness campaigns. We also have seen a couple of events inside malls where customs work was shown, previous attacks or previous issues were shown and how they are dealt with. And these do give some kind of an awareness. But what are the procedures taken by the Customs Affairs to spread awareness about its role on the local level? And what are the channels of communication, basically, that you guys have open with the citizens?
Well, before we talk about the communication channels, since you've mentioned the air show, let us talk about the special dedicated team we have for exhibitions and events. We have a unique team that is, has built expertise in such events. We don't only have the air show, we have the Formula One annually, and that's a big event where our team focuses on the entrance of all equipments related to F1 and then back on the export. We used to also play a major role until last year with Jewelry Arabia, the biggest jewelry exhibition in the region. Millions worth of goods coming in, and it's all under our eyes. We came up with a new system for the Jewelry Arabia, and according to big companies that do participate, they've never seen such a system worldwide. We called it a Dana, and a Dana comes from the pearl. This system was basically to stop the vendors from having to go to customs and stamp every sale that took place. And that was done electronically, so as soon as a transaction happens, we know about it, we know how much the vendor has to pay. And that saved many trips back and forth for all these vendors. Now going back to communication channel, this is very important. With the new generation, everybody relies on social media. So we have come up with 2 accounts, one on Instagram and one on Twitter. The Instagram account is more interactive. It tells you about the latest decisions. It tells you about what do you need to do if you want to import anything shopping online,
right,
or any thing of that kind. And we also upgraded our new website, which is customs.gov.ph.
Right.
With that, we focus on information for everyone. So even if there is someone that wishes to move to live to Bahrain, there is a guideline on what do you need to do before you come.
Right.
And we cover all stakeholders, whether it's the individuals or the companies on that website. The information is always key. However, when it comes to Instagram, I would warn people not to rely on Google Translate. So they should take the information from the source itself.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. Well, one of the things that people sometimes need to do is to communicate with the customs affairs when there are certain issues like bottlenecks, but basically where they don't know who to go to for a certain type. Do you have a communication portal where people can talk to certain customs affairs
units? Yes, we have
units?
a call center. The number is on our Instagram account. It works around the clock.
Yeah.
The call center at this moment, the beginning of its establishment, is witnessing a lot of calls due to misinformation. But I'm happy because now we're clarifying the picture. A lot of people don't know that customs work under the guidelines of many other government agencies.
Right.
And with shopping online, we have to be aware of what we buy. Believe it or not, according to the World Health Organization, over 90% of medicine sold online is fake. So imagine people going online and trying to buy medicine, and then it is stopped by NHRA for their safety.
Right.
And they think there is a delay. There is no delay. There is a safety check for your health.
Yes.
When it comes to electronics, again, there is specifications. Some companies do not pay attention to the safety aspect of electrical wiring, etc.
Right. Batteries.
Yeah. So online shopping made people aware a lot about customs.
Yeah.
They think we are the ones that stop the goods. It is other government agencies that do the checks. They don't take that long, but it is at the end of the day for your safety and the safety of the nation.
Right, perfectly. I mean, you guys execute the needs of the other government agencies at that point because you're basically the final line before it actually enters the country. Well, after long years of dedicated efforts, the Customs Affairs has accomplished various achievements and gained several awards on regional and on international levels. What can you tell us about these accomplishments and ways to maintain these successes?
If we're going to talk about achievements and awards, let's start with achievements. Achievements is when you reach record times of clearance. So when you introduce concepts such as pre-clearance at the causeway, that is an achievement. When you introduce concepts of authorized economic operator program, which is the big companies, and you let their goods pass through and do the check later, that is expediting the work. With travel, again, with passengers, anyone that travels through Bahrain Airport knows how efficient customs is. And this is what we focus on when it comes to serving all stakeholders. That is the achievements. Now, with those achievements, awards came. So back in 2019, we have won the Government Excellence Award for our single window system, OFO. A year later, we have won the Arab Prize on the same system. We're continuing achieving many awards. For instance, one of the recognitions I'm proud of is we wanted to get the certification of ISO for our directorates. And I was told that let us start with 1 or 2 directorates and then build on it. And I said, but we can do it at one go for all. And that took 8 months of solid work, and we received the award of all directorates last year. So that's another achievement. Luckily, I think if I'm going to summarize those achievements, the secret behind them is that we truly have a team that loves to win and achieve. That is customs. We have many successful stories within customs that I'm comfortable that for the next few years we have many talents that would take responsibility in the future.
Definitely. How about the awards section of that?
Well, awards, as I said, we have always participated in awards and we've won them. Yeah. We're looking forward to next month when there is the IT awards. Yeah. We're banking on many systems this time that we have introduced. We're the first government agency to introduce a communication for all staff. Okay. So when I sign an order, we can upload it through the platform and it's in your mobile. Okay. If you want to remember what do you do when it comes to a diplomatic case, right, you reach to your phone and you'll have the procedure. Right. So everything is now moving to the mobile phone in customs. We have another system that when an officer finishes the inspection of a container, rather than going back to the office and writing the report, they can just take a picture and write a short report from their phone. Okay. So we're looking at every detail where time is wasted and how can we be practical. And this is what the IT department in-house is developing day by day.
Fabulous. Well, before we end today's show, can you give us an exclusive statement about the Customs Affairs future plans and its upcoming projects?
I think the upcoming project that I would exclusively reveal to you is what we call the second phase of our single window system, okay, Ufuq. Now, we have launched a tender last year and we have recently completed the analysis of the bids that we have received, and we were very happy to award the tender to a company from Singapore, which is a leading company in IT, for the second generation of Ufuq that will include artificial intelligence, that will include blockchain technologies, and that will simplify matters, and I would say for many life in the near future. So we're looking forward for this project. Wonderful. And that will take us to comfortably the next level and the future of customs.
That's wonderful. Your Excellency, a lot of people have some kind of relations to the customs, whether they know it or not, whether they are the online shoppers, whether they are the export-import officials, whether they are a restaurant that opened up on one of Bahrain's beautiful streets and then imports food from outside. So a message from you at the end of the show to your clients, to your employees, a generalized message from you.
Well, if there's a message that I would pass to all the stakeholders is that we are open for all. We have a dedicated directorate for customer service, a call center, and always rely on the information from the source. Right. Sometimes people do have their own needs, a unique request that we can cater for. Sometimes we would be helping exhibitions by goods arriving very late to reach on time. When it comes to new businesses, we look specially for them. So always reach out and pick the information from the source, and we're happy to serve everyone.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being with us and answering our